Hey, alchemist. I found a beautiful quote from the singer-songwriter, and I think he's a poet, James Taylor. And he said, "The secret of life is enjoying the passage of time." And of course, I know we would all love to enjoy the passage of time, but we don't always do that, do we? We experience the passage of time in different ways. Like sometimes the passage of time can feel really fulfilling, but sometimes it can feel empty. And sometimes we can ask ourselves, like, where did the time go? So time is both precious and something that we take for granted. Time is something that we utilize to its highest, and time is something that we waste. We can also live in a bubble of wishful thinking, hoping that things just turn out. And sometimes we do have to wait for things to work themselves out. But do you know that so often the thing we're wishing for and hoping for is also the thing that we are the catalyst for? And so we waste that time waiting for something to happen when it won't, because we're the catalyst. It's not enough to just hope. So at the end of the day, how we spent our time matters. When we climb into bed and lay our head on that pillow, we're either going to feel satisfied and fulfilled about our day and what we did, or we are going to feel unsatisfied. We are going to feel unfulfilled. I tell you, as much as I love Netflix, I don't feel fulfilled at the end of the day if all I did was watch Netflix. So we are actually designed to live in something called sacred time, so we can enjoy the passage of time. So today, up close and personal, I'm going to talk about two kinds of time and how, when we can connect these together, this is how we live in sacred time. Now, the amazing philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson, he said, "Our faith comes in moments, our vice is habitual." Okay, so we have our faith comes in moments, our vice is habitual. These are two kinds of time. Two kinds of time. And so I'm going to talk about where our vice is habitual first. And this kind of time is called Kronos time. And Kronos time is where we end up going on autopilot, because Kronos time is time-space here on this planet. Kronos time is where we decide, we get up in the morning and we have so much time before we have to leave for work or wherever you're going. Okay, this is Kronos time. Kronos time, though, because it's where our vices become habitual, it's where we can end up scrolling mindlessly on social media, right? And we can end up mindlessly spending our time, right? We can fill it with these unconscious behaviors where time just gets away from us. I've gone on the computer before thinking, oh, I'm just going to look at this one thing. And then like 3 hours later, I was like, was I on YouTube that whole time? Okay, so these unconscious behaviors is where time gets away from us. Now in Kronos time, this is also where we get stuck in our history. Stuck in our history. Something happened in our past and we can't let it go. We can't seem to heal it. We can't seem to forgive it. Instead, this trauma, this incident, whatever it was, it stays stuck in our mind and we keep reliving it over and over again. And we might be thinking, if this thing back in my history had never happened, I'd be living a whole different life right now. If I had just made this different choice, I'd be a whole different person right now. Okay? We also might use these events in our history as excuses for why we're not doing something here and now. So Chronos time is where the weight of our history controls us. Chronos time is also where we apply reason and logic to the soul and to God. And this is why we ask questions like, why did this have to happen? Like, she's such a good person, and so why did she get this illness and die? Right? Why did this have to happen? I give and give and give, and why doesn't anybody ever help me out? Right? Why? We ask these why questions that we can't get an answer to. Okay, so Chronos time is this time space where we're living here on Earth, and it's where time can get away from us. Now, the second kind of time, right? So Chronos time is where our vices become habitual. This kind of time is where our faith comes in moments, and this is Kairos time. Kairos time is time outside of ordinary time. And Kairos time is the realm of special moments. It's the realm of the aha moments, the epiphanies, the revelations. It's where the deeper order of events reveals themselves. It's where we experience synchronicities, signs, the divine paradox. We receive inspiration, right? Inspiration to do something that hadn't occurred to us before this special moment in time. Kairos time is where we experience the wonders that are God, okay, or cosmic wonders. It's that moment where we know we're being drawn to something, and at the same time, that something is being drawn to us. And it makes no sense, right? We can't rationalize it. So here in Kairos time, this is where the wild cards of our life are animated, right? It's that moment where we know there is a higher order of things happening. So Kronos time is where the mind knows. And this is perfectly fine, right? But it's where the mind knows, but it's also where our personal will assert itself. And our personal will is usually only interested in doing what it knows it can do. Our personal will wants to do it in a certain way. So anytime we've ever had an idea and we're like, okay, fine, I'll do that, but it has to happen just like this, and there will be no deviations. Okay, that's personal will, right? Personal will is usually tied around doing what we know how to do. This is also where the ego will assert itself, right? The ego wants to keep us safe from all the lions and tigers and bears, okay? Keep us in familiar surroundings. So that's Chronos time, where the mind knows. Now, Kairos time is where the soul knows. It's the realm of the divine, and the realm of divine will, right? The highest and the best, more than what we can even imagine. All right? So it's divine will is something that it's meant for us, but we're going to have faith to let it happen to us because we won't know the how. Right now, we cannot receive divine will except through Kairos time. So we have to find a way to get Kairos time and Kronos time to work together for us. We're working in both realms. Okay, so it's perfectly reasonable to live in Kronos time, right? We don't want to be out of space and time on this planet, right? Or we wouldn't be in a physical body right now. But we do want to create a sacredness in our life. So we want to also experience Kairos time. And this is how we live in sacred time. So we're experiencing the soul at work in our life. Now, Phil Stutz, he wrote this really fun book called Lessons for Living. And Phil Stutz actually connected the rhythmic cycles of our life and of the world, right, where time is at. He connected our rhythmic cycles with rituals. Okay, rituals, right? Because really, we've kind of lost our rhythm in this life, right? We've lost our rhythm when we spend all of our time scrolling. We lose our rhythm by not going outside and knowing when it's a full moon or a new moon, okay? So because we're not engaging with life, we're not engaging with the natural world, we're not engaging with our heart and our soul. And so Phil Stutz says, rituals are the spaces in which meaning enters our lives. And you know what? Our ancestors, every one of us had ancestors that used ritual to connect with the higher order of things. So we can correct rituals. I'm going to say I invite you to think about creating rituals so you can live in sacred time. All right, and this is what I have tried out for myself. So I'm going to share 3 things that kind of give us a foundation, right, and really help get us started. Okay, so the first ritual I want to suggest is a ritual of connecting to source. Something we want to do every morning. This was inspired when I was watching on YouTube a video by somebody was reading a C.S. Lewis essay, I think. But C.S. Lewis was just talking about every morning, no matter what, connect to God, ask for guidance, right? Don't even leave your house. Ask for guidance first, right? And so I had been doing this. And I'll tell you, I get up pretty early, and because of my dog. And so I get up early and we'll go outside as soon as the sun's up, like she's ready to be outside. Now, when I go outside and I spend a half hour just sitting out there scrolling on my phone, I'll tell you, I don't feel great when I come in the house. I don't, right? I don't feel inspired about my day, even though I'll tell myself, well, I'll find an inspiring meme on Instagram, right? And I mean, there are some inspiring things out there, but the second I'm off the phone, I don't remember them. Yeah, so we go on our phone or do some kind of mindless activity where we are on autopilot, where our vice is habitual, we're not going to feel satisfied. I started going outside and just sitting and watching my dog sniff around the yard. I would say gratitudes out loud, and then I would ask for guidance. And then I felt something. After a half hour sitting outside, I would feel different. I would feel love on a bigger level. I felt good about starting my day. I actually felt excited and curious. Now, see, we lose our rhythm if we go right into a behavior that we could call a vice, right? Where our vice is habitual. We'll lose our rhythm. And when we're not participating in some kind of ritual of connection, we're going to end up living where our vices are habitual. So we want to practice a ritual of connection. We also want to practice commitment, right? Make some kind of ritual for commitment. So commitment is when we make a promise to ourselves and we keep this promise. And so when we keep a promise to ourselves, it puts us in spiritual congruence, right? We are in integrity with our life. Now, Phil Stutz says in his book, commitment connects the past, the present, and the future. Okay? And how I see that is we look in the past, let's say today, we're going to start with today. We make a commitment to ourselves. Well, then today becomes tomorrow, right? And then today is actually the past. So the past is where we made the commitment. And now we're taking action because we're aligned with that commitment. We're doing what we said we're going to do. Now we're in the future where the demonstration happens, where something has become real in our life because of the commitment that we made. Now, a ritual around commitment, it can be very simple. Like I started doing something I've never done before, and it's using a task tracker, like a tracker thing in my planner. And I've written out the things I'm committed to, and I just have my notebook every day, and I actually will go through, and it's kind of nice. I feel a ritual around it as I am keeping track of things I promised myself that I would do. Okay, so we can actually create a ritual around commitment. All right, so a ritual around connection a ritual around commitment, and then a ritual around cultivating a practice of patience. Yeah, everybody's favorite thing to do, right? I used to think that patience meant sitting and waiting. Ugh, right? When's this going to happen? Are we there yet? Has it happened yet? Where's my stuff? Where's my thing that I wanted to create? And what I had to learn, I didn't learn this really until I connected the law of rhythm, which is a universal law, with the practice of patience. And patience is not about sitting and waiting. Patience, and I'll share this quote from Phil Stutz. Patience has to do with accepting the fact that things are created over time, right? If you go bake a cake and you put it in the oven and in 1 minute it's not cooked, you're not going to gripe and complain. You're not going to say the cake hates you. Nothing ever works out for you, right? You're not going to say your oven hates you and life is unfair. You're going to do something else, right? You're going to let that cake bake. You're going to let that cake take the time that it needs, right? And if I'm baking a cake, maybe while it's baking, I might read a book. I might go outside again with the dog. I might watch something on Netflix. I don't know, but I'll just find something else to do. Okay, so that's really what practicing patience is realizing that maybe we are committed to creating things in our life, but at some point that thing is going to need its time to do what it's going to do. Okay, so we're creating rituals around connection to source, commitment to what we love, and patience to let those things happen. And this is how we're living in sacred time. So here's our call to action for this week. I'll start with our affirmation. Let's say it together 3 times, okay? I'll say it once, and then we can say it together. I live and create in sacred time. 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 Our life is filled with people that will demand our time. And a lot of this is good. Right? I love that my kids, I would say, they're not like, Mom, you must give us time, but like they want to see me, I want to see them, right? We've got family, we've got friends. Then we go to work and maybe coworkers demand our time, right? Our jobs demand our time. There are things that demand our time. Projects we're working on, right? Things that we care about. But it's up to us to discern, because the outside world will not honor our time. Our vices will not honor our time. Okay? Social media will not honor your time. Your phone will not honor your time. Your computer games will not honor your time. So it is up to us to discern those, or we're going to get lost in this Chronos time where our vices are habitual. We'll find ourselves on autopilot. So here's an invitation, okay, for all of us. At some point during this week, we might find ourselves tempted to waste time thinking we've got time. Right? We don't always have all the time we think we do. Now, and I'm not talking about relaxing, right? Rejuvenating, recovering after a long day at work, after a long week, after a busy weekend, right? If you want to come home and watch Netflix, yeah, for sure, right? I would do that, right? The thing is that what I'm actually talking about is filling stretches of time with meaningless, empty activity where we find ourselves later saying, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I would have worked on this thing. I wish I would have, made a phone call to a couple of people that I care about. Okay? So, most likely, most of us will be tempted to waste some time thinking we have more. Okay, so a question I like to ask myself, of course, every week is, what am I working with here? What am I working with here? Am I in time space where my vices are habitual. I'm on autopilot. I'm unaware. I'm losing track of time. Or am I in the moments of faith? Am I in the moments where I receive inspiration? Am I in Kairos time, right? Where I'm getting ideas, where I have the opportunities to change things, transform, transcend, right? Am I consciously connecting with Source? Right? Am I consciously connecting with Source? Am I asking? Am I receiving? Am I committed to pouring my energy into things that I have deemed important enough that I say I make a commitment, right? Maybe I made a promise to myself, so am I actually pouring my energy into those things? And then am I patiently letting things happen, right? Am I letting the rhythm of life do what it does, and I find other things to do? Now, living in sacred time, right? We've got Chronos time, which is, okay, like I have this much time before I've got to go, right? And we've got Kairos time, okay, where the synchronicities and the divine signs and symbols are happening, the wonders that are God. But Chronos time and Kairos time together, this is where we experience our soul at work. This is where we see life as a mystic sees, that God is all things, everything that's ever been and everything that's yet to be. That God is where we are right here and now. God is where we want to be. And God is in all the space in between, right? God is in every moment of our lives simultaneously, like right now. God is where you were 2 years old and where you're 22 years old and where you are right now. Okay, so this is how we see life as a mystic. We live life as an alchemist. When we're living in sacred time, we also live life as an alchemist, meaning that we can accept the hand that we have been dealt. And then we ask ourselves, okay, what do I want to do with this? How do I want to work in here right now? Can I change it? Do I need to rise above it? Right? So living in sacred time, well, this is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. We'll see you next time.